go.
Pearson, Haley.
Yes, sir! Woo! Yes, Coffee!
Abagombe. Mignon Cosley.
Woo!
Kate Ahmad Panafrea. Stevie Sanaa Nicholas Kennedy. Jonas Alexander Kennedy. Maham Khan.
Baby girl did it.
Sohail Khan. Fazilia Kim. Ryan Seyong Kim.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Legal Score. I am your host, Sonja, and big congratulations to my niece, Pearson Haley Jones. As you see there, she just graduated with honors from Southwest Guilford High School. And congratulations to all graduates out there. Tonight, I'm celebrating my Canes, Carolina Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champs. And so is Lawson. And we have our special guest joining us once again. Thank you so much to Pink Fan Fur for the real creation. And thank you to all of the affiliate channels that are allowing me to share this live right now. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce to some and reintroduce to others my co-host for tonight, Jack HIRSCH, world-renowned writer, former boxer extraordinaire, all that good stuff, and co-host of the Glove Fist on Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on McGrath Podcast Network. None other than Jack HIRSCH. And we also give a shout out to Brian Arndt. Without further ado, Mr. Jack HIRSCH. Jack, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I think you missed a couple of words, and you said former. You should have left that out, and then you said boxer extraordinaire, boxing writer extraordinaire. I did box. I actually was a sparring partner for a couple of years of Vito Antifermo, the former world middleweight champion. But me, myself, I don't deserve quite the accolades you gave me. Your priorities, though, on place, Sonja, because you congratulated your niece first and the Carolina Hurricanes second. But then again, if I was a Hurricane fan, maybe I would have said you should have mentioned them first. But I like the order you had it in. Congrats to both of them, your niece first and then the Hurricanes.
Thank you so very much, Jack. And like I said, and thank you to everyone. We're still reading all your wishes and things like that. And Jack, it's always great to have you join us. What have you been up to since the last time we had you on the show? And know you just had recently authored a book on Michael Spinks. And I know we made that introduction here it seems like just yesterday, but it's been a couple of months back. So let's go ahead and get that plugged in right away. And then we'll talk about the sports news and just, we're going to talk NBA, of course, to these ad nauseum Knicks fans, but we'll talk about a little bit the Canes going forward. This hour goes by super fast. So Jack, let's get some info on that book.
Okay, well, really the Knicks should be headlining, but I'll get my book out of the way. It's been out already since March. Michael Jinx Spinks, an authorized biography. An authorized biography means Michael worked closely with me on it. You could write a book on any public personality you want, and they can't stop you from doing it. As long as everything is legal and you don't do anything and you don't write anything negative to really discredit them in certain ways. But this is authorized, meaning we worked on it together. It's always going to be the official Michael Spinks book per se, as any authorized biography is. And it tells his life growing up in the projects in St. Louis, one of the toughest projects in the United States, the Prudigo, housing project there. To his road to the Olympic gold medal, light heavyweight champion, world heavyweight champion, and his after-ring career, the way he lost his money and had to regain part of it. So it's a really compelling story. Michael Jinx Spinks, you could get it on, go to the Amazon website, go to Barnes & Noble website, go to the Target website, and you'll be able to get it there. It's called Michael Jinks Spinks.
Absolutely.
That's me.
Congratulations, Jack. What a feat. And like you said, you are a renowned writer. And so this is right up your alley. How difficult was this getting everything kind of laid out? What was the most difficult part of writing this book? Would you say it's just nailing everything down with the edits, or actually scheduling the coordination with Mr. Spinks himself, or just kind of pondering over some of the thoughts of the last things you'd actually write?
Well, eventually getting it to publication, that's a story in itself, which I'm not going to comment on publicly. You know, it's out now, so I'm happy it's finally out, you know, in that sense. But there were bumpy roads, you know, along the way. But I would imagine that's how it is, you know, a lot of times with other authors itself. It was actually picking a topic. I mean, I was due to write a book. I'd written so many magazine stories, so many fight reports, so many columns for decades. And finally, I was due for a book. And so many books have been out, you know, on all these famous boxes. But for whatever reason, a book was never written on just Michael Spinks alone. A book had come out in 2011. That was a book written on both him and his brother, meaning it wasn't a biography of Michael Spinks himself. And it certainly wasn't an authorized biography, meaning his words, you know, how he wanted it put down and so on. And he didn't work with anyone on any book before. And this was a first. And I can understand why, because Michael, after he retired, he became a recluse. He'd be in hiding a lot of the time. People had a hard time getting in touch with him. He'd show up at some public functions, but he wasn't the easiest guy to reach. But I knew his representative, who I dealt with before, and I basically called up and I said, I'm writing the book on him, whether he cooperates or not. But if he wants it really to be the best possible book, if it's an authorized biography, that would be the best way to go. And much to my surprise, you know, she said she'll talk to me and get back to me. She got back to me within the hour, and it was a go. So that, you know, I'm really happy that legendary champion, Michael Spinks. By the way, this summer's the 50th anniversary of the 1976 famous Olympic team. Michael Spinks, Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, amongst the great fighters on that team.
That's absolutely amazing. Man, those years go by so fast. And I know that you could just remember in that moment, you know, they call, you know, our Constitution, they'll say the spirit of 76, but it really is the spirit of 76 when you're talking about that specific year and so much going on, you know, and now to see it full circle here, Jack. I mean,
well, it was a different time, Sonja. It was a different time when the Olympics were taking place in 1976. Everyone watched it. Mm-hmm. You didn't have the competition. You didn't have cable television. You didn't have 75 movie channels. You didn't have ESPN. I mean, baseball was around, yeah. I mean, the other sports were actually around, but you didn't have social media. Now we have so much going on. It's very hard, and I'm sure you can relate to this, to stay and watch just one thing.
Yeah.
You know, now listen, if your Carolina Panthers are playing, you're not going to scan the channel any more than I am. If the Jets are playing, we're going to watch it. Mm-hmm. But even during the regular season, you take the NBA. Most of us don't sit and watch the whole game. You know, during the regular season, the playoffs, we'll watch the whole game. I mean, I watched a lot of Knicks games during the year, but did I sit down and watch a whole Knicks regular season game just glued to the couch watching TV? No, I was multitasking. I was doing about 5, 6 other things. I was checking, a Yankee game, for example, what was going on, you know, and other sporting events, you know, going back and forth. I mean, I never understood people like, for example, the NFL. They'll have one of these split screens and watching 6 games at once. How can you enjoy it, you know, with the split screens? I'd rather watch one game and check on the scores, you know, maybe while I'm watching that game, but one game at a time. if there another game's going on during the commercial, I'll switch to the other game. But I'm basically going to want to see the game of my choice.
Yeah, you have to keep it muted. You have to keep one of those, and I know that, and no shout out to them because we're not endorsing them, but I know YouTube allows you to actually put the volume on one specific screen. And I like to think of it like it's kind of like being in a sports bar. You're not going to be able to hear anything in there, but you're at least able to watch what's going on. So I tend to do it, especially during the NFL season, Jack, because I have this adage about know your enemy. So I'm always watching the other teams in the NFC South that are not playing the Panthers on that specific day to see, if they're losing or what have you. But you're right. It's so funny. My brother-in-law and I was actually having this conversation the other day about there's such a competitive market with sports, but with them being like a series like the NBA and NHL, you have to watch every single game of the series because it's the best of 7. But with the NFL, you either lose or you're out. It's like you lose and you're out. You gotta win to stay in. That one game could matter in the playoffs. So more people are paying attention to that one game of the NFL as opposed to all 7 games of the playoffs. Unless when you get to game 3 or something.
You said something very thought-provoking. At least it set something off of my head I never thought of before. We use the word fan, but there are different degrees of fans. Anyone who goes to a bar to watch the game isn't a serious fan. Maybe they went to 20 games during the season, like if it's a basketball, a baseball team. Maybe they were season ticket holders for football. Usually football fans concentrate on the game when they're at the stadium. But baseball, they're socializing. How many are paying attention to the game? And any fan who would go to a bar isn't concentrating on the game. It's fun in games to them. It's a night out to socialize. Anyone who goes to a Super Bowl party, if that's how they plan to watch the game, they're not a fan. They're at the party socializing. They're hardly paying attention to the game. They're more interested in the food than the game. They're not really fans. And because I'm going to tell you, I've said it over and over, and I don't mean the people who are the listeners of our shows on this network. The people are the listeners of the shows on our network who comment are very knowledgeable, so I don't include them in this group. But most fans, they don't know the game. I mean, it's really, they're very fickle on everything, and they could be very irrational at times. But like you said, you saw during the Knicks playoff run, you're seeing all these people standing in the streets of Manhattan together. It's more of a social event than them being basketball fans watching the game. Because if you were truly a basketball fan, you would be home in front of your TV. You would be really into the game, tense. Maybe you could have friends over. If they like it and they're into the game, that's fine. That's fine if you have friends who are over. But you're going to be standing there a few hours and, you're going to follow the numbers of the score. But you're not really, a true fan.
I agree because I think for me, that's when I knew the difference of being a fan of your specific team as opposed to a fan of the sport. When the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, that's when I knew there was a difference. Because Jack, honestly, before that year, once my team was eliminated, I wasn't watching.
It happens,
Yeah, but I remember one of my best friends had a Super Bowl party, and I went, and she's here in Atlanta. And I was so angry, Jack. I left at halftime because I couldn't hear any of the calls. It was just too much going on. And I literally told her, I was like, listen, I was literally in tears. I was frustrated because we were losing. And then I was like, I don't even know what calls are what they're saying about the team. I need to be home where I can listen to what's going on. And because it was kids loud, babies crying, people talking, I was like, never again. My team was in the Super Bowl. So when this past season, when the Panthers played the Rams in the playoffs, where was I? At my house, where I could listen in quiet solitude as to what was going on.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you have friends who are really into the game
Then it would be
and they're watching the game and they're not talking to you like between plays. Oh, by the way, Sonja, when are you having your nails done next? I
exactly.
know this, blah, 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 going, food shopping. Oh, I went food shopping here, there. None
Yeah.
of that. Not while the Panthers are playing.
Yeah. I
Not
told
while
them
they're playing.
that they really were only supporting Carolina because at the time Cam Newton, was from here. He's from here.
Yeah.
But I felt like I said, y'all really don't want us to win, because if we win, that means the Falcons would be the last team that was ringless in the division. So I accused them of sabotaging the whole thing, and I left.
And I've been a part of a few jokes on the podcast on this network because technically speaking, I'm not a Knicks fan, but I've always rooted for the Knicks to win. And I was emotionally vested in this series. I was like cheering for them like anyone else, even though I'm not a Knicks fan per se. I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, but the Knicks are in my city. I would want the Knicks, to do well also. I mean, I'm a Jet fan. I mean, the Jets and the Yankees are my two main teams. Yankees number one, Jets number two. Those teams are much more, I'm really emotionally invested in the two of them. But if the Giants are doing well, when they got in the Super Bowl, years ago, I bought a Giants sweatshirt and I wore it around as a way of kind of supporting a little bit. But I'll be honest about it, even with the Mets, if they're not going to the World Series, they don't have too good of a team, even though I think they'll get better as the year goes along. I couldn't wear a Met cap. If they won the World Series, I couldn't wear like a Met jersey. But it doesn't mean I can't root for them to beat an out-of-town team because they're in my city. What am I going to do? Root for the Philadelphia Phillies to beat the Mets? Am I going to root for the Los Angeles Dodgers to beat the Mets? The Atlanta Braves to beat the Mets? I mean, what's my affiliation with that? If I want to rationalize, I could say, well, I'm a part-time resident of Florida, so maybe I could dig up a Florida team, but the Miami Marlins aren't really a threat. But
Tampa Bay Rays are, though.
I mean, listen, Max Kellerman told me too. He lives in Los Angeles now, Max Kellerman, okay? But he shuttled back and forth. Max is a friend of mine. He's lived in New York most of his life, but he had to have a career move and go to LA. And he told me this years ago. They told him they wanted him to be a fan of the LA teams, root for the LA teams, talk positively. And Max said, I'm not going to flip the New York Yankees and New York Giants, for the Dodgers or the Rams. I'm not doing it. But he said, I'll flip the Knicks for the Lakers. Because he's not as big a basketball fan. And it's the same with me. I like the Brooklyn Nets, but I could move on from the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are chronic losers now, and they're not going to get better it's the way it seems now for years, the way it seems. And the Jets may be the worst team in football, arguably. You could, even though some people feel they have some chips that they're going to be better. But let's face it, when you had the number 2 overall pick in the draft because they were playing out lousy. But my rooting interest in the Jets is never going to go away, no matter how bad they might be. But, other sports like the Brooklyn Nets, I just lose interest. I'm going to watch Jet games no matter how bad they are. The Nets, it doesn't matter. I was more into the Knicks, than the Nets, and that's the way it goes. So it depends how you interpret being a fan. I mean, I'm dug in as a tremendous hardcore fan, as I said, for two teams, the Yankees and the Jets. But I like the Knicks a lot. I'm a New Yorker. I got caught up in everything and was really rooting hard. I was at the edge of my seat for the Knicks. When they won the championship, I'll tell you, Sonja, I felt like I was going to cry. It brought back memories. Yeah, it was an emotional thing. Yeah.
I mean, it is, and you know, kudos to them, Jack. Let's be clear. I guess we'll come back to the Canes since we've segued into this
Well,
big
I
topic.
think more people want to talk about the Knicks than the Canes.
Yeah,
But
I
your Canes
know, but
fans,
you know, I gotta
out of
give.
respect, I did watch all of Game 6. I watched the whole game. I really did.
I'm gonna.
I didn't. I didn't do. I didn't turn to any other channel. I watched all of Game 6 when
Wow.
Carolina was up 3-2, and I was going to watch all of Game 7. It was late in the series. It was game. I didn't watch a complete game of all the other games. I watched part of the games, but
The
Game
last,
6, I
the
watched the whole game.
the last two games they had. One night I was at my niece's graduation, and the other thing we were just coming in from getting her graduation. It's so funny because let me tell you, Jack, I had plans to watch it. I knew the graduation I probably would miss because the graduation was at 4, even though the Greensboro Coliseum, which has been renamed, they really did a good job of getting those graduates out of there. 440 graduates, and they were in and out in 2 hours, Jack. It was shorter than my graduation, and we didn't even have but 100 people in my class. And I graduated in a different time, but it's because they had other schools coming in. It was like a rotation.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, those long drawn out graduations
yes,
are bad because everyone is normally there to see one particular graduate.
yep.
Okay.
So
And you don't want it to go zip, zip. You don't want to get everyone out of there in 20 minutes. So here's your diploma, now get
they
lost.
they called
You
they
know,
called every name in 40 minutes because I recorded it.
good.
40 minutes, every name was called. The salutatorian and valedictorian had like a 2 minute speech, and I do mean 2 minutes. Their entire ceremony for the names being called was 40 minutes. And
That's good. They did it the right way.
yeah, and my niece had, they literally were joking. They said she should have had a chair by the stage because she got awarded in every single category. She's top athlete GPA of her entire school. She got so many scholarships. She'll be going to University of North Carolina at Charlotte,
Oh, wow. Cool.
and she's
Yeah.
going to be taking up nurse practitioner, taking up nursing. And she just got pinned last week. She was taking all accelerating classes. She had a 4.4 GPA, and she got pinned as a certified nursing assistant last week. She's passed the first nursing test for the
Nice.
state. So when you talk about all of that, I missed the hockey from that. But I mean, this is the first time the Stanley Cup has been in Carolina in 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
The Hurricanes actually had a very gritty season. I'm gonna be serious against the Golden Knights. I was actually a little afraid at first, Jack, because you know, all season long, well, I know you don't know a lot, but towards the end of the season, I started really following. Carolina kept having a lot of overtime matchups, a lot of overtime, a lot of close calls. And I was just like, nope, the Golden Knights have got their playbook down pat. They know that Carolina comes out extremely aggressive, and they come out very, very fast. And they were prepared for it. And so this series literally went a little more in depth than I thought it would. But they literally, if you're thinking about their rookie goaltender, Brandon Boosie, who actually became the folk hero.
Who replaced Fred Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah,
Frederick
yeah.
Anderson. Yeah.
And you know, Anderson already had a lot going on because his manager passed away like a week before the finals. And he had a record-breaking amount of goal stops or whatever. But it was just a lot going on with this team. And you know, Jack, with any sport, when you come down to the very end, everybody's beat up and banged up from the entire season. They played a duration.
You know what it is? Replacing Anderson with Busby was really going with the hot hand. And so many coaches / managers, etc., they don't have the guts to make a move like that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to. I mean, I argue for it all the time. It does. If you replace a player, it doesn't mean the move is permanent. It's only for that game. We see it in baseball all the time. The greatest starting pitchers could be having a lousy game, and they replace him, and then he doesn't lose his place in the rotation. It drives me crazy with the NFL. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes. He could be having an awful game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything could be off that day. If I have a good, competent backup, why not put him in and see if he could get something going? And then if he doesn't, go back to Patrick Mahomes, put him back in. And of course, the next week, Mahomes will be starting again. I'm just giving, The only reason I mentioned Patrick Mahomes because I'm mentioning the very best quarterback in the NFL, along with Josh Allen and so on. But that's another debate. But they did that. The Carolina Hurricanes. They
Mhm.
took a chance. Busby was in there. It was an awkward situation, but
Only
the
his
move
third
was
start.
made,
Who's
and it
third
and it
start?
and it paid off. Should they have worried about Anderson's feelings? Oh, we can't do this to him because he's the guy who played a big part in us getting here.
I mean,
You play who helps you win.
yeah, because I mean, Boosie, this was only his third playoff start, Jack, and he stopped all 22 shots to become the only third rookie. So it's
But
only been three of them in NHL history
yeah. But fairness,
in that shutout.
Sonja, they went Las Vegas close to 19 minutes, and that's practically a whole period where they didn't even put a shot on
Yes,
goal,
yes.
let alone good shots on goal. I
Hmm.
mean, it was the Hurricane defense that really got the job done.
Yeah, really good. And congratulations to the veteran legacy 37-year-old captain Jordan Stahl. He got the Conn Smythe
He
Trophy,
did.
playoff MVP, just making history as the oldest player to
All
actually
did a
win.
nice thing too.
Yeah.
Uh, at the end of the game, this is a tradition. Every player gets to hold the cup and does a little circle with the cup to hold it up. Every player on the team, and Stahl made it a point to see that Anderson was the first one. Who their starter, who was then the backup to Busby. So
Hmm.
that was like a classy move by Stahl, and it surprised Anderson. He appreciated it. And Anderson was a great sport, and him and Busby have tremendous respect for one another. That's a very important thing.
Let me ask you your opinion on this, Jack, as we wrap up this segment on my Hurricanes here. Now, with this Hurricanes win, Tom Dundon, their owner, is already actually, and I was actually in the Carolinas when this happened, as I stated earlier, about an hour and a half south of there. So Raleigh, that entire area was lit. So he's actually making comments, and this has been something that's been talked about off and on in the Carolinas. Now this championship is here for NHL. He's actually reigniting massive waves about discussing bringing a Major League Baseball expansion team to the Raleigh area. Now, we had the Durham Bulls back in the day, but they're not expansion like Major League Baseball would be. What are your thoughts on that?
He can talk all he wants. It's Major League Baseball's call. I mean, he could say, I want a Major League Baseball team here, and it's going to get all these big headlines. But I mean, there's a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. Uh, I mean, it's definitely viable. Carolina, even though Carolina's been thought of, obviously as a basketball, you know, the Carolina is a basketball state, and football, of course, is popular. Basketball and football. Yeah, baseball would be popular as well, but you're just one of their few other cities. Oakland just lost a city. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not a city. The city of Oakland lost their Oakland Athletics.
Yeah.
They're playing in Sacramento tentatively, and now they're going to be in Las Vegas.
They've been trying to
I
get to
mean,
Vegas for a minute.
what about Montreal? The Montreal Expos were really tremendously popular back in the day, and then they wound up losing their teams. Things went wrong. How would a baseball franchise fan Montreal? You get fans, you think of Toronto. I mean, they have a major league team. They draw fans, from Buffalo. And you could talk about other sports in other cities. A city like Pittsburgh, they have the Pirates, they have the Steelers, they have the Penguins, but they don't have an NBA franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of that.
That is true. I
I
didn't
mean,
even think about that. Well, I guess
St. Louis, St. Louis.
they
I
had a
mean,
chance,
they
but
had an NFL franchise. They don't have it now. I could argue get an NFL team in there. They don't have an NBA franchise. They used to have one years ago. I mean, there are gaps that could be filled in. Yeah. I mean, I get it. But how would baseball work out in the Carolinas? I suppose it would go well there. I would guess. You tell me. You have a better feel for that area than I do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so many people are sold on Braves country. And I mean, I grew up a Braves fan. It'd be kind of difficult, but I'm sure you have some people that are homers that's going to support the home team no matter what. Kind of like when we got the Panthers for the first time having an NFL team. It just takes that break there to be able to, the interest has to be there because you don't want to set up a franchise and then you're not getting the engagement to get your
Well,
money's worth.
look. What about I could say someone like Alabama? Give them a baseball franchise. Alabama's real popular basketball wise, their college team. Obviously, football, it's off the charts, the popularity.
Yeah,
And now the College World Series, uh, uh, the tournament fought is starting to get a little, more tension every year, a little more. So I think years from now, the college baseball draft, it won't be looked at like the NFL draft. I mean, maybe that has a bearing on things because in the NFL draft, you're drafting players who you count on you for the most part to help you immediately, for the most part, unless it's a quarterback who you think is going to sit for a year or two. You're counting on them to help you. Baseball, and the same with basketball. You count on whoever you draft at the top of the draft to have an impact. But baseball, they're going to go to the minor leagues for a couple of years before they're going to go up to the majors. So we'll see. I think I belabored the point a little too long with the Carolina franchise.
Well, no, because it's always great to get your introspective on that because you've seen sports, you've seen teams come and go. We all have, but I mean, you have a little bit more
Well,
professionalism and knowledge
Chicago.
towards.
Wait. Well, we've talked about in the past where you teased me and you called the Jets the New Jersey Jets because technically they play New Jersey. Now, are you going to call the Chicago Bears if they make the move, which apparently they're going to
It's
move
ridiculous.
to Indianapolis? Technically, the plan is to call them the Chicago Bears. And I don't think that name is going to change. The NFL doesn't want the name to change. I don't think the Bear organization wants the name to change either. But technically, they're going to be in Indianapolis, and the Indianapolis Colts don't want the name to change. So everyone, I guess, will be on board. And reportedly, the stadium is more convenient for a lot of people than where they're playing now in Chicago.
It's horrible. I'm not sold on the way they have that set up at all, Jack. It's actually annoying. We're gonna talk about that a little bit after we talk about the NBA finals. We got to take a little small break here, Jack. That's a good point to bring up.
NBA finals, that's more interesting than what
We
we've been
we gotta
talking
talk
about.
about that. We gotta talk about
That's
that.
more interesting. We have
Yeah,
the big parade in New York tomorrow. Talk about
right.
that.
All right, guys, we'll be back in about a minute and a half. You guys grab your favorite drink and snack, and Jack and I'll be right back. Thanks, guys. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. Here we go.
Pearson, Haley.
Yes, sir! Woo! Yes, Coffee!
Kabagande. Vivian Cosley. Kate Ahmad Canafrea. Stevie Sanaa Connor Nicholas Kennedy. Jonas Alexander Kennedy. Khan.
Baby girl.
Lennox Grace Jones.
Here we go. Here Go.
Pearson Haley.
Yes, sir!
Nicholas Kennedy. Jonas Alexander Kennedy. Maham Khan.
Baby girl did it.
Sohail Khan. Fazilia Kim. Ryan Se-young Kim.
All right, and Jack and I are back. Welcome to the second half of our show. Congratulations again to Pearson. Had a little technical difficulty there getting everything up and running. That's what happens when you're streaming. But
Right.
welcome back to the second half. Jack HIRSCH, our guest for tonight. Jack, having an amazing time here with you tonight. Always a great time having you
Yeah,
on.
I mean, as the older I get, the more grouchy I become about little things. Like I'm like annoyed at Keith Engel, who hosts with me the Weekend Playbook, because Mac and myself would get annoyed at one another, as fond as we were one another. We were very fond of one another. Uh, Keith Engel, for example, the Tampa Bay Rays are 5.5 games ahead of the Yankees a
Yep.
couple of weeks ago. And I tell him, don't worry in the slightest about it. In the slightest. The Rays are not in the Yankees class. Maybe the Rays will stay ahead of the Yankees a few more weeks. Maybe they'll stay ahead of them. But at some point into the summer, the Yankees will catch them. They're not a threat at all. I assured them.
Mhm.
Keith was all worried. Oh, I'm not so sure. He's like all nervous about the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, in 2 weeks, okay, the Rays 5.5 game lead. Then now they're 3.5 games behind the Yankees. Assuming the Yankees win tonight, the Yankees are winning 10-3, so they will win tonight. So they put the Rays in their rear view mirror in a blink of an eye, and Keith was actually worried about the Tampa Bay Rays, who weren't that good.
Yeah, I feel like, first of all, Tampa Bay has come out of nowhere, honestly, Jack. But it's so much baseball to be played. It's almost like you can't really go all gung ho from the beginning, because it's so many games to be played that you kind of have to, as my grandmother used to say, hold your horses and see how that goes. I mean, the Dodgers and Rays, it was a lot of drama, honestly, between that, because you got Otani that went through that chaotic fifth inning, surrendering that season high 4 runs in a single frame was big for him. But he did manage to secure his 7th win of the season as the Dodgers barely edged out Tampa Bay 5-4. And then Freddie Freeman, always going to be my favorite Brave, which is now with the Dodgers, was a heroic in that clutch 2-run homer at the very end, in the 6th with Alex Vesia, who shut out the door in the 9th for that big save.
Well, I think this is Freddie Freeman's fourth season with the Dodgers.
Hmm.
He played 12 years with the Braves. He won a World Series with the Braves. He's won two in a row with the Dodgers. If the Dodgers win the World Series this year, and let's say wins a couple of more. I mean, let's say wins four World Series total with the Dodgers, and he has a 20-year career, and he 8 of the years with the Dodgers, 12 with the Braves, but four World Series titles with the Dodgers, and they give him a choice. What do you want to go in the Hall of Fame as? He was a World Series MVP. He's a Dodger. I mean, how can he not go in as a Dodger? It'll kind of be hard to go in as an Atlanta Brave at that point,
I guess say he doesn't
right?
win. Well,
How
I
loved
guess
is he in Atlanta?
I mean he's been with us longer, but you're right. If he wins the more current championship with them, we see it in the NFL all the time. Players come back to the team just to retire. They sign for
That
one
is the
day.
stupidest thing, signing a 1 day contract. The only thing I could think of that's dumber is these players, the NBA players, like they're robots who can't think. After every foul shot, they're shaking one another's hand, coming in meetings. Where did this stupidity start?
I don't
Where's
know
the
where that started.
origin of this stupidity? Let the guy take the foul shot. You don't have to merge and shake his hand to pat him on the back, but it's automatic. Take a foul shot, me. Take a foul
Mhm.
shot, me. And then you get guys who get offended because the buzzer's going off at the end of the game and a player just shoots the ball at the hoop.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
takes
no
a 30
reason.
jump shot, and they say, "Oh, you're trying to embarrass us." I mean, the modern athlete is so ridiculously sensitive. I mean, it's a fiasco.
Yeah, speaking of fiascos, let's wind our segment up here talking about the most dreadful news, at least for me. I actually was rooting for the New York Knicks because I tend to root for the teams out of the East because it's just geographically where I am. But New York fans, I mean, I get it, Jack. You're a New Yorker, but so maybe if I was, from there, but there's been big fallout, even in our group chat. I noticed yesterday one of our New Yorker members in our Friday with the Fellas podcast just left the chat because you're upset because he was noted in the chat as saying, he hates the Knicks and it was documented. But then now he's just, I mean, yeah, hates the Knicks because he's a Nets fan. But now you are all gung ho about, a parade supposedly happening in Atlanta. And I just checked, and
There's no parades taking place in Atlanta,
there's
so
no parades. There's no
don't dignify
organized
that.
parades, but radio stations here in Atlanta, and they've been putting up signs on restaurants everywhere all over the city that says no Knicks fans allowed because they have been hyping it up because they're saying, hey, we waited 53 years for this. They're saying that even though this Thursday parade is going to be in New York, which is tomorrow, basically they're saying like Channel 2 here in Atlanta has been heavily broadcasting segments because Knicks have one of the largest national fan bases
Yeah,
in
that's
basketball.
it.
And because Atlanta is a hub of so many different cities. But what gets me is I'm like, listen, there's been other residents of Atlanta that have championships from other cities, and they've never had the audacity. Like, y'all could go ahead and meet up in a parking lot all you want. But
Sonia, they're not going to
parade is
have a
insane.
parade. Do not even waste that time talking about it. They are not going to run a parade. It can't happen. It has to be organized, the parade. Okay? They can meet and they could congregate somewhere, and then they'll wind up being told to move on or whatever. Or there'll be some arrests if they don't. But then a parade's got to be organized. A bunch of fans are not going to have a parade through Atlanta or whatever. Don't even
Yeah, and
dignify
they
it.
got it's so disrespectful.
So
Like we got the
let's
hogs
leave.
here. Come on, y'all.
Let's switch to something else. There's no parade that is going to take place about the Knicks winning in Atlanta. If the Atlanta Hawks had won the NBA title, the city of Atlanta would have organized a parade for the Hawks. But nothing's happening with the Knicks. Let's move on.
Thank you for that. Now let's talk about
And
some
nothing
other.
happening in Atlanta. There'll be a big one in New York, of course,
Exactly.
tomorrow.
And you know what? It's so funny. So Juneteenth is coming up, and ironically, my first visit to New York was this time of year, back in 2021. So 5 years ago, I was in New York for the first time. It's a beautiful city, and they were having a parade then for Juneteenth, and this time they'll be having one for
Well,
their championship at
well, we
their
were
garden.
talking before about fans, and I'm going to tell you, it's been despicable, the conduct of the people in the streets with the Knicks winning. And the biggest cop out, Sonja, of all. And we always hear this cop out to condone bad behavior, even though no one really condones it per se. Well, it's not the majority, it's the minority. No, it's not. It's the majority of people because they're cheering this on. It gets glorified. Your elected officials who the majority voted for and support, don't say anything. Oh, good gosh, Mayor Mondani says, oh, it's wrong to assault police officers. It's wrong to assault San Antonio Spurs fans. It's wrong to set a bus on fire. We don't condone that, he says. Yes, he does condone that because the penalties aren't steep. These thugs are going to set a school bus on fire. They're going to jump on top of a vehicle that someone is driving and someone is trapped at. I mean, someone has San Antonio Spurs jersey on, they're going to beat them up like a pack of wild dogs.
Outlandish.
I mean, come on. And people are going to be cheering that on in the streets. I don't want to hear it's the minority. I don't want to hear that. I mean, these thugs, they've got to come down hard on them, really hard on them. And it has to be known beforehand. You do something like that, you damage property. You break into stores, for example. You shatter the window. You steal things out of there. There's got to be penalties for that.
Yeah, it's crazy because what's really crazy, Jack, is now that they've come out with this, hey, Atlanta's not going to allow us to do a parade. They're doing a rooftop block party where they're shutting down the entire street from 6 o'clock tomorrow evening until midnight. I am so glad. I normally have class on Thursday.
They got a permit for the block party, though. They got probably a legal permit, which is fine.
They gotta have that, but normally I have class at 6:30 on Thursdays. I'm so glad my professor canceled class because I would have to drive right past that area. And I don't got time for that.
Fine. That's fine.
You know, we got the
have a block party to celebrate the
Atlanta.
Knicks if you want.
Yeah, no, I don't like
you know what
fans.
I would tell?
I think it's really disrespectful when a city has their own franchise. I would never think of the Panthers.
No, it's not, Sonja. The Atlanta Hawks could have done something about it when they were leading the Knicks 2-1 in the playoff series. Let them win the darn series.
That's why they're doing it.
No one would have been celebrating the Knicks.
Exactly.
Atlanta had a chance to do something, okay? And a block party. You know, the Knicks, like you mentioned before, they carry well. I mean, just look at the amount of Knicks fans in San Antonio. It was crazy when the Spurs came out for warm-ups in Game 5.
Yes.
There was booing going on for the home team. Can you imagine? Now, I heard it was maybe likely in San Antonio's favor, 55-45 Spurs fans. But the idea Knicks fans could flock to San Antonio, wear their Knicks gear, they could leave the arena, and they're not in danger of getting mugged the way someone would in New York. I was joking with Frank Laterzo about it, you know, about the Eagles. The Eagle fans supposedly are horrendous. If you wear New York Giant gear and walking in the Philadelphia fans, they're known for being really bad, really, really bad, terrible. But and those people in the streets in New York, how many of them are Knicks fans? They like the Knicks. That's about where, you know, it starts and ends.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that I'm gonna be honest. I've seen somebody get beat up in a in the Panther Stadium after a game, like literally just like real fight. And I'm laughing because I'm real hyped up at games like that, but I never feel like it should never
Well,
get physical.
and it's on your mind. I went once as a baseball fan to a Met opening game. A Met. I wanted to go to an opening game at the old Shea Stadium, and it was chilly. I had on my Yankee jacket,
Oh
and I
Lord.
got to the game a little later than I wanted to. Parking was hot, and all of a sudden I think, I had my jacket in the front seat there. And the Met fans don't know I have a Yankee jacket on. I'm a Yankee fan. As a group effort, they're helping me squeeze into a parking spot. A few of them, Met, they're all in the Met things.
Yeah.
When I got out of the car, I had my Yankee jacket folded like this. No one was going to see it because I had it on my mind. I put that jacket on, and they think we helped the Yankee fan. My
Right.
car might have a taillight busted or something when I get back. So I wait till I get in the stadium, and when I'm in the stadium, I put it on, and I'm fine in the stadium. But by leaving the car there, it was on the idea was on my mind.
That is so wild. Like it's funny, but it's not because there are some fans that are really fanatics. Like they are crazed. And I remember there was a 49ers game against the Falcons, and they stabbed some 49ers fans, stabbed some Falcon fan, and put that guy in the hospital. Like after a game. Just even if they won or lost, it didn't even matter. It was just they were so mad when the game was over with that they just it was just crazy. Like they put him in the hospital, Jack. Like he was on tubes and wires and everything.
Yeah, it's insane. You don't get into an argument with anyone. I was in an elevator once at a casino in Connecticut. I had on my jet jacket, and some guys get on the elevator and they're starting to give it to me, taunt me something bad. So normally I'm not the bravest guy, but I took
Yeah,
one step towards him and I said, "Who are you a fan of? Which team?" And the
right.
guy was starting to get nervous, like I was standing up to him, but I was just to throw him off.
Yeah.
He got all nervous. He said, "Well, Buffalo Bills," blah, 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 like he's nervous. They get off the elevator, and we all get off. I'm going one way, they're going the other way, and when they're about 20 yards away from me, they're starting to yell at me again.
Oh
But at
yeah.
that point, I was safe. I was in the lobby, but it entered my mind, you're on an elevator. You don't know. You have a team thing on. I don't wear it going in another stadium unless you're from New York. You could get away with it at
Mhm.
certain places. Like if I visit my friend in Tampa Bay, if the Buccaneers are playing the Jets, I can wear my Jets.
Yeah, yeah, it's different.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
there are enough New Yorkers, former
right.
New Yorkers who live there, where it's not quite as intense.
The South is not as intense anyway, unless you're talking about Atlanta and New Orleans. They have their own bitter rivalry. A lot of it stems from Hurricane Katrina because a lot of people from New Orleans moved here and never went back, even after the city was restored. And Atlanta just, like they literally hate that. But then, we're pretty mild mannered in the South. Like I have to say, the NFC South teams are true Southern belles, so to speak, because you don't see a lot of that anger. You may see a couple of rah-rah, but it's not like the northern teams and out west. Out west, those California teams and those New York, Philadelphia teams are and Pittsburgh, all of that, something to behold because I've heard horror stories. I have not personally been to a game versus any New York team or any Philadelphia team. I've not gone to any team outside the South, and even in New Orleans, they were trying. It was a group of ladies that went to the games. Me and some of the Pantherettes, and we sat in a section. And just so happened there was a play that Drew Brees got his nose busted, and we didn't know it. We were cheering for the play, and then they put him on the jumbotron, and you saw his nose bleeding. And when I tell you, everybody around us lit into us. One guy followed us out of the stadium after the game, even though they won. he kept on going back and forth with one of the ladies, and she was from New Jersey, and she was not backing up. And I was like, listen, let him have it. This guy is crazy. She was like, I don't care. I'm from Jersey, da, da, da. But it was crazy because those Saints fans are just like that. Now, they are the exception to the South.
Yeah, you don't know with people. I try to walk away from it, avoid anything. I mean, it's kind of a certain madness. Some of this fan behavior. I've been, I don't want to say caught into something like that. I've had a couple incidents where I've kind of just walked away from it. But players have to understand, okay? Like Wembanyama and certain other players, Reggie Miller, Tyrese Halliburton. Once you act a certain way, you're involving the fans. Now, I don't think those players should get any ridicule beyond being booed, but fans take it personal. Wembanyama's pointing to his head. He wasn't just taunting Mitch Robinson. He was taunting Madison Square Garden.
Yes, he was.
You do that, now you're a villain. And certain of his plays, let's be honest, were a little on the dirty side. Whether it was intentional or not, that's another matter. Okay?
Yeah.
Another matter. But these players like Reggie Miller, Halliburton, and Wembanyama, they thrived on being villains. And once you do that, you're involving the fans. Now, if you stay very quiet and humble and don't involve the fans, don't react a certain way by taunting another player, then you find, I wonder how Dylan Harper feels. Dylan Harper's dad played for the Knicks. He's been a lifelong Knicks fan. From the time he was born, he's loved the Knicks. He was a rookie drafted by San Antonio. And now he's, the Knicks broke through the first time in his life, but he's not happy about it. He was all in on San Antonio, but you kind of wonder.
And just think about, they just fired Tom Thibodeau a couple of seasons ago. And look at
a season ago, the Knicks. Yeah,
season ago. Literally.
Sonja, if you're a player, you're a guy, an NFL player, you've been a Panther fan your whole life, right? Pretty much. How many years?
So I have to be honest, because I really wasn't into football until about 2010. So about
but let's say that's
years,
long enough.
Years.
That's long enough. 15, 16 years. You're hardcore fan. Can you imagine? You're like, let's say you're an attorney now. You have to represent the Panthers as soon as you got out of law school. But let's say your law firm shipped you to New York. You have to represent the Jets and work for them. That's a culture shock. Now you got to rooting for the Jets to win. Like you're going against your team. It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
But it's what it is.
That's hard, especially I know someone that is from New Orleans, and she actually got a job with the NFL. She used to work in the district attorney's office with me, and she's not a lawyer, but she was an investigator. She does something with security with NFL now. And I teased her about that very thing. I was like, Lucas, you really gotta not scream the Saints so much now. She's like, oh girl, hush. Like, she was like, it's like you have to be a professional, you know what I'm saying? And speaking of professional, Jack, always a good show. Gonna go ahead and wrap this question up. Did you have any other final questions for me?
No, that's basically a big parade in New York tomorrow. I hope it's peaceful. Security is going to be great, and I hope it reflects well on New York. Because unlike the hooligans in the street, the so-called celebrations.
It's been a lot.
You're next NBA champions. I still don't believe it.
53 years. Congratulations.
It hasn't sunk in. They're actually the NBA champions, the Nets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's off the charts. It really is. Second biggest championship in my lifetime in New York City. I'm not talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers, who were borough team, and I was too young for that. The only championship that was bigger citywide was the 69 Mets. The Miracle Mets in
Oh,
69 was bigger. The first Knicks championship that they won in 69 70 was actually bigger than this one to the hardcore basketball fans. That was bigger just in the basketball community, but now it's social media, it's a city event. This is off the rails. This is bigger than anything with the Yankees or the Giants, Jets Super Bowl.
do you think it's because it was such a drought? I mean, 53 years is a long
Not a
time.
no,
Longer than
no.
my life.
Knicks fans, give them this much. The real Knicks fans, as loyal as any fans. They, supported the team all these years. And basketball is extremely popular.
Yeah.
Extremely. The NBA and the Knicks actually winning this thing is like, man, that is, it's off the rails.
And it was a rematch for them from 1999, almost 30 years against the Spurs of all teams.
I got to tell you something funny, too, that's easy to forget. During the regular season, they had a thing called a tournament for the Commissioner's Cup.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Knicks beat the Spurs in the finals to win the Commissioner's Cup. The Knicks would not hang up the banner for the Commissioner's Cup because it's embarrassing you're hanging up the banner. Who cares about the Commissioner's Cup?
It's like an elimination tournament.
It's like nonsense. But now that the Knicks won the NBA championship, they can hang up the Commissioner's Cup banner next to it. It's like, adding in, a little spice, a nice spice to the championship, They gave it to the Spurs twice during the season, but San Antonio's day is going to come, their team of the future. I predict next season the Spurs beat the Knicks in the NBA Finals, but the Knicks would have gotten their one championship that should last and last and last.
Yeah, Wemby definitely was not prepared. His whole attitude was like, "I'll see you guys never," and then he just got up and walked off. It was
Wemby is very immature. He might be a nice person. He might be a nice person. I'm not saying he's not, but who knows? But he's immature. 22. He's got to gain a little maturity here. A lot of maturity.
Absolutely, and so does the team. I mean, this team was a young Spurs team. So they've got a lot of maturation to go.
They'll be back next year. They're favored to win the title next year. For the Knicks to beat them again, wow, that's a big job. Good thing the Knicks got it done.
But the fact that OKC got eliminated before they got to the final was a shock. Like
OKC actually, in all likelihood, would have beaten the Knicks had OKC been healthy. Second best player Jay Williams, had he been healthy and everyone was healthy on OKC really would have been favored to beat the Knicks.
Absolutely, and everybody knew that. Well, yeah, Jack. Well, we'll be having you on again soon. Always a great time. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell us about your book one more time. How to find it?
Michael Jinx Spinks. Get this book on. Go to the Amazon Barnes and Noble website. It's a good read. Okay, on a legendary champion, Michael Jinx Spinks.
And it is a good book. I actually have a copy and I've been enjoying it in my leisure time reading, Jack. Very good penmanship, very good collab with Mr. Spinks. And so congratulations to you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Jack HIRSCH, who will be joining us again soon. We hope you all have enjoyed the show. Join me Friday night for Friday with the Fellas at 9 p.m. and then 4 p.m. Legal Score. 8 a.m. Jack is on with the Great Debate Show with Brian Arndt, and James J. Train Martin. And also in the Sunday morning sports show where they start at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the Glove Fist on Monday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And lots of shows. The BW Flick Review is now on Tuesday night. Where Brian and James doing movie reviews. Lots of shows here right here on McGrath Podcast Network. Jack and I will bid you all a good night.
Good night.